Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and before we start this video off, would you ever, without a police officer's permission, jump onto their vehicle and start fooling around? Okay, well, you know, if the answer to that is no, congratulations, you have at least one functioning brain cell. But what if I asked you, would you be stupid enough to do it on camera? Well, you don't have to worry about it, ladies and gentlemen, because I actually have a clip here from a kick streamer known as Vitaly Zadoretsky. We'll get to figuring out his name later. Sorry, Vitaly Zadoretsky, okay? Hopefully I pronounced that one right. But let's just hit play and see what we've got to look at here.
Sir, I have a question. I have a very important question for you. Can I shove this up your booty?
What?
Ooh, God, man, you know, sometimes you come across the cringiest shit imaginable, and it just really flashbangs you. So he walks up to a Filipino police officer, asks if he can shove a banana up their ass, and, you know, normally I'm not somebody that signs off for police brutality. I speak very much against it. But here I wouldn't be so against it if they decided beating his ass. But if you thought this was the only thing, let's just go a little further in, okay?
Is that okay or no? Okay.
Hulihin mo, kuya. Hulihin mo. Hulihin mo yan. Hulihin mo yan.
He's not chasing me.
I know.
Boss, I want you to chase me. Can I have a hug? You mad at me? Okay. Look at that ass. Sorry. I'm gay.
Okay, so not exactly a police officer, ladies and gentlemen, but appears to be just a security guard outside, you know, a pretty popular plaza in the Philippines. Now, if the actual video you saw kind of shocked you, ladies and gentlemen, apparently Vitaly Zadoretsky, okay, one of the largest, I guess you could say, Russian-American prank channels, has kind of been back at it again, and it's to a point where he's currently arrested and facing criminal charges because of some of his crazy benders going on in the Philippines. Now, I know a lot about the Philippines, particularly because I've been looking into Quibeloy for damn near over a year at this point, okay? It's one of my most interesting stories, one of the things that I absolutely love to see, and while Quibeloy is looking for, I guess you could say, some place in office, Vitaly is, you know, kind of popping up on my radar, because as I was looking up Filipino stuff, I was a little bit shocked to see that Vitaly just randomly popped up. Now, for anybody that has no idea about Vitaly back in the day, this is like 10 years ago, and Vitaly was at the top of his game. Like, we're talking videos that got up to like 16 million views, 19 million views, 22 million views. These guys were the first progenitors of like prank channels, and especially taking those pranks into the hood, okay? Now, I would say that for most prank channels, 99% of the shit they make is probably fake. But I'll be honest, in Vitaly's case, I'm not entirely so sure, okay? Vitaly is a truly unhinged individual. Particularly, one of my favorite clips from back in the day was when a lot of these prank channels were going into their homeless experiments, you know, where they were just basically finding a way to give $1,000 to a homeless person and make $10,000 and way more off of fucking AdSense. So if you have no idea about any of this, ladies and gentlemen, this is my favorite Vitaly clip. So Vitaly decides to go to Skid Row, Los Angeles. And for those of you who have no idea what the fuck Skid Row is unfortunately one of the largest homeless encampments in the United States. In fact, it is in one of the biggest cities, Los Angeles. In fact, if I drop an old Street View pin down over here, you can get a good idea of like how bad things really are. So this is back in 2014, how things used to look. And of course, May 2024, the further we go down, a lot of these tents exist because people, unfortunately, have to live out on the streets here, okay? There's a lot of problems here, okay? There's a lot of, it's genuinely unsafe. A lot of people with drug issues, a lot of people down on their luck. And of course, Vitaly comes in and gives them 1,000 turkey sandwiches one day, back 11 years ago. So I want you to listen to this clip. Quite possibly one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
Can you guys look at what you're doing to me? Can you guys back out?
Woo! I love that guy. He's like, what's going on with this guy? He's unhinged. Yeah, if you took out the really upbeat music, it really just comes across as this rich asshole being a fucking menace to the homeless. So yeah, Vitaly is just one of those wild nut jobs, and for a while, he kind of went missing. And then I realized the more I looked into it, like a year ago, he was running these uncensored channels. Like he had his own like subscription service off the website. I think he had at one point was just filming adult stuff, for crying out loud. And I guess that did so well for him that apparently he was allegedly involved in the beating of a female jogger in Florida, okay? So you know how they say never ask a man his salary, a woman her age? Never ask Vitaly what the fuck he was doing in April 2020 in Florida. Yeah, Vitaly ended up showing up with this ghastly looking fucking mugshot, where apparently a YouTube star here was arrested after he allegedly attacked a female jogger in Miami Beach. So just shy of being 30, he ends up getting charged with felony charge of aggravated battery. The arrest came after a woman told police that she was jogging alone when Zadorevetsky accosted her and threw her to the ground. She told police that the YouTube star straddled her and began punching her repeatedly in the chest, neck, and face. So for anybody that's wondering, oh man, you really don't have respect for some guy like Vitaly? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I can overlook, but, beating the shit out of a woman, allegedly, is one of those things that just has a unwashable stink, some would say. Now, this was the mugshot that actually got involved into it, and if you look very closely, I'm not a medical professional, so don't take my word for it. But looking closely into Vitaly's pupils over here, I think there might be something that's 100% Colombian in that system. And it sure as fuck ain't coffee, that's for sure, dude. But yeah, no, after this for a while, I thought, oh my god, it's pretty much over for him. And then, surprisingly, Vitaly ends up coming back again. See, on YouTube and the internet, you never really get canceled, and you never actually, in my opinion, really just fall off. Vitaly ended up coming back, and he decided to become a kick streamer, okay? And what was Vitaly doing on kick streaming? Now, Vitaly decides that I'm going to go hunt down predators, and his brand of predator catching is not similar to somebody like Chris Hansen, okay? Where there's like law enforcement agencies involved, there's like a whole sting operation going on. No. Vitaly just decides to go stream this shit on camera, and what does he do? Well, allegedly, he throws out what appears to be a fucking flashbang at a predator running away. And yeah, I don't even know if I can really show this on YouTube that well. I don't even know if this will actually get the video taken down because it's so fucking outlandish. But the reality of it is that obviously wasn't it. Vitaly also did target more and more people that were apparently predators in this situation, and I really don't have any idea if like law enforcement is truly involved. I'm also not going to talk out of pocket over here. Maybe he did actually get these things sorted out. But one of the reasons, and I've talked about this in the past with like predator hunting content, it's like, if you ever want to like, if you ever have like the most unwashable stink on you, right? Like you have just controversy after controversy. Not like most YouTubers. I think every YouTuber has went through one or two controversies. But if you're in the fucking world of Vitaly or whatever, where like basically you are the internet villain, the easiest way to come back to the internet and make a absolute shit ton of cash, viewers and subscribers, is to just go after, who everyone hates, which are child predators, right? Like, there is not a single person in the world that I find normal that would just go out and say, yeah, I like somebody that would harm minors. Now, obviously, it's something that everybody can get behind. Now, I've talked about it in the past with people that are making content like this. If it's up to me, like, I would always, basically say, get any law enforcement agent involved. But, Vitaly is part of those content creators that is kind of going above and beyond what they have to do. And at one point, it actually gets into them appearing to assault some of these people on camera. Now, here's the thing. If you do that, there is a very good chance that law enforcement agencies, prosecutors can't actually do anything to a alleged child predator, right? Because if they're guilty of certain crimes, you might have inadvertently thrown their case out when you decided to like assault them on camera, beat the shit out of them, flashbang them, kidnap and hold them in a facility. It's crazy, all right? Like this part of the internet is genuinely insane. So anyways, where have we come to from here, okay? Why did I give you the Vitaly, like a fucking Vitaly primer, so to speak? Well, it was because I wanted you to understand, for anybody that had no idea who this person is, to give you an idea of what Vitaly is capable of, what Vitaly is, okay? He's an unhinged Russian-American psychopath, all right? And that's probably the nicest way to fucking put it. So anyways, Vitaly's been on this villain arc, I guess, And so he decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go all the way to the Philippines. So yeah, this clip that I showed you to start off the video with, yeah, it's pretty unhinged, okay? Like, obviously, you know, he's basically fucking around with security over here. People are genuinely a little bit shocked. But it gets to a point where, you know, he starts to absolutely become more of a nuisance in society. I like this one, okay? This is my favorite one. This is like 8-year-old him just going up to random people. Holy crap. And of course, every citizen over here is just like, this guy's a fucking psychopath. This lady's just on her phone minding her own business and he's barking like a dog. She genuinely feels a little threatened here. So what I started to really realize over here is, man, Filipino security is just really goddamn lax, okay? Now, obviously, there's been some people looking at this and like, man, is he fucking around with police officers? No, it appears that he's messing around with security guards, you know, basically rent-a-cops, private security, you know, the people you see at the mall, not necessarily law enforcement, but the people that just have probably the worst jobs dealing with these kind of people.
Saan ba ng payment sa kanila or permit is
No, yeah.
He just grabs that law enforcement, that security guard's hat and just starts running around everywhere. You know, I really do one day wish that Vitaly had the same energy back when he was in like I want to see him try doing this with like an LAPD officer. I remember a while back I saw this one clip of somebody like unholstering a cop's gun. I could only imagine what happens if Vitaly does this with like the most unhinged American cop and ends up effectively being a fucking statistic one day. I really do see that happening because, you know, when I really question the veracity of this person's content, this is probably the only person where I'm actually uncomfortable and I'm actually trying to like hedge my bets, saying that this might actually be real. He's just unhinged enough to not fake any of this nonsense and just become an actual nuisance, a real problem for people around him.
Villain arc is back. Demon time. Don't you want to scan me?
You know, I do that at the TSA and they fucking strip search me for at least 2 hours. That's just fucking unfair. I feel like the security in this area is just a goddamn joke. Now, you might be sitting over there laughing and being like, well, Muda, what's really the harm there? Well, it turns out, according to the South China Morning Post, all these incidents, which appear to happen at the Bonifacio Global City in Taguig City in the Philippines, the actual police spokesperson said that Vitaly Zdorevetsky is arrested on Wednesday by the Bureau of Immigration over being an undesirable foreign visitor. You know how fucking bad you gotta be to be considered persona non grata by any goddamn country? You have to be this unhinged nut job. So he gets up, his basically updates his like mugshot profile picture, and it's just like, place and date of the arrest, Bureau of Immigration's main office, Magellan's Ave, Intramuros. Violation, undesirability. In violation of by operations order number, and then here's the actual like code, in relation to Commonwealth Act 613 as amended. So because he was streaming on Kick, you might be wondering, is he banned? Actually, yes. On kick.com/Vitaly, this green Tamagotchi signifying a 404 error exists, showing that yes, Vitaly is in fact banned after this fact, okay? All it took was effectively breaking the law and being a complete public nuisance for this live stream platform to react appropriately in the situation. Now again, Vitaly is not basically getting away with this unscathed, because apparently it seems like he is not facing simple deportation. I feel like a lot of these streamers are kind of like enjoying their life because it's like, man, all I'll get is deported, right? I'm just not like I'm going to go back to the Philippines again. Just deport me back to America. Well, it seems like they're not entirely going to deport him. Apparently, at a press briefing on April 7th here, you got the Interior Secretary saying that Zdorevetsky will not be receiving special treatment while facing charges in Philippine soil. He will remain there for now in the Bureau of Immigration's detention facility in Muntinlupa while he awaits his trial here. So they're actually trying him in the country. We will not deport him. He will be held accountable under the law here in the Philippines. Now, look, I really don't know if the United States is going to get involved. At the end of the day, I believe Vitaly is an American citizen, and to an extent, like any country has to at least provide some level of assistance when you are in trouble abroad. Now, how great that, will be is dependent on how important Vitaly really is to the U.S. State Department, which honestly Probably not that much at all. In fact, most of these kick streamers don't really have nearly the clout they like to viewbot themselves as, so I really don't think that he provides much assistance or much in value for the services that the US government would have to render for him to get the fuck out. Now, the big thing about all this, and the reason I'm talking about any of this, is much like any other nuisance streamer, this really just serves as a bad look for everyone else, okay? Anytime somebody like Vitaly makes North Americans look like trash, we become basically one of the worst tourists internationally. And in an Asian country, whether you're going to it doesn't really matter what Asian country, the respect to everyone else is probably first and foremost paramount. In fact, I think that's true for any country on any continent you go for. So the fact that he made a fool of himself, looking further into actual, the actual legal process involved, according to the Filipino government here, if he's charged, he needs to resolve local cases in the Philippines first, before they can actually implement the deportation. And the thing is, it's when you're getting arrested and you're in the proceedings, you probably have some level of remorse, but according to the actual police here, when the arrest was being filmed, he was seen kissing the camera as if he was mocking or provoking, which obviously is not going to fly well in front of any fucking judge. So, moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, Vitaly fucked around, and he absolutely found out by being a complete and utter degenerate. And honestly, talking about him is not something that I was expecting to do in the big year 2025. But I think Vitaly serves as a great reminder as how someone can be so completely unhinged on the entire platform. Vitaly has had one of the longest careers on this platform, one of the longest careers on the internet, and I would say a grand majority of it has been pretty much some of the worst shit you've ever seen filmed on camera, and at least uploaded. The guy is genuinely an unhinged nutjob. People always say that YouTubers are narcissists, and to an extent, I guess that's kind of true. Some people say that YouTubers or online personalities are usually playing a character. But in Vitaly's case, I really don't think that character existed. I really do think this person was born of the most utmost cringe and insanity, and that just effectively manifested into one of the most popular online careers on the planet. Popular for all of the worst reasons imaginable, okay? Whether he's streaming, whether he's making videos, seeing him on the news and constantly getting an updated version of his mugshots as if it was a social media profile picture is just wild. And what's really going to happen out of this, I really do hope that it's kind of like a Johnny Somali situation where he actually does face some serious jail time for some of this crap too. Because look, if you're going to be a nuisance in the world, I personally feel you should absolutely get some years taken away from your life and spend it in a detention. That might actually be the best thing for this guy, to be honest with you. Facing some level of actual pressure from law enforcement agencies. I feel for the longest time, he's pretty much walked away without any sort of consequence happening. And genuinely, when consequences happen, it's probably the one thing that's going to be the biggest wake-up of his career. But, ladies and gentlemen, like I asked you in the question when I started this video off, would you commit, basically crimes on camera and upload them and stream them for international attention? If the answer to that is yes, then I highly suggest you seek real medical attention, because there might be something wrong with you. If the answer to that is no, like 99.9% of the world, congratulations, you have a functioning brain cell, unlike our subject of the video today. Anyways, that being said, this is me, Mutahar, and I am out.